All right. Okay, so we're starting the day at a pretty awkward position. We need to get over this like 65, 67 area. ETH low here at 65. So we're starting the day below Globex low. We need to see this recovered. We've got a higher low on Delta. We're pushing over POC VWAP to our pivot here on the Russell. So we need to see if the Russell rejects here. If Russell can get over this and we can get back over Globex low, there's potential. If not, this looks like it's going to continue down. So just keep that in mind that we need that recovery very quickly. Testing Globex low now. I think it's fine to try along if you're willing to play off of the low. If not, then you need to wait for the recovery. Man, I did not want to get out of bed this morning. It is so cold. One of our so far just rejected Globex low on ETH and have been falling ever since. 1.5 seconds is a bit long. Not sure why the delay is larger than usual. I've got it on ultra low, but I feel like it used to be like half a second. You can change the latent. It just will affect video quality. Opening range is now finished developing. Russell's holding surprisingly well. I'll say it again, but unless you see like a really strong bid step in, the short is this ETH low. Buyers need to get over this 65 to 68 area and make it supportive for a push out. Then we can look for upside. Until then, we are opening the day below Globex low, and it does not look so far like we're just trying to trap people. So we need to see a push above and then a hold, ideally sooner rather than
Italy's
later, or
finance
this looks
minister
like it's
says
just
potential
headed
rate
down to
cuts
this
in
53
summer
to
will be a
55.
it's good news.
We have the Russell holding, but NQ is showing incredible weakness. So what do we need for price to push? Well, if Russell continues to be neutral to slightly bullish, right, we need NQ to just bottom. That's literally it. Russell doesn't need to change a thing it's doing. We just need NQ to find a low. But if the Russell also loses its higher low and loses this 14, then we are going to free fall on ES, because we have NQ and the RTY then both pushing to the downside, right? So just keep an eye and see if the Russell can continue to oscillate, and watch to see if NQ can find a low. It's really that simple. If that can happen, then we pop back up. If both start to fall and continue to show weakness, then we continue down.
So in just under 10 minutes time now, at the top of the hour, we see the release of the US business inventories data. This is for the month of November. Forecast minus 0.1% on the prior minus 0.1%. We also see the release of the US NAHB housing market index, this for January, and forecast at 39 on the prior 37.
Do it. Like to see a recovery of ORL and then a hold for a push up to opening arrangement for NQ. Right, like that's in an ideal world. We find the bottom into this liquidity here that I've marked in yellow. At some point, either we hold the edge high, which is what we've done right now, right, and then we can build off of it, and then we look for basically this to recover and push out, or we're going to need to make this offer bounce. So, and then we can figure out where we go from there. So this is just a recovery of opening range low, basically. Yeah, I should actually change that. I think this is probably easier to visualize if we can see our node structure here. Bit lower low. There you go. This is Globex low on ES, RTY ADR, and NQ attempting to bottom into buy side liquidity. So we just need to see ORL now hold on NQ, right? We know that we have supply above. We're looking for price to be able to build here. And if it can, then we can look for a push up into this 60 area, and then target above that would be. So just waiting. We know that this is resistance across the board, but we need to get over this pivot.
So in 5 minutes time now at the top of the hour, we do see the release of the US business inventories month over month for the month of November. So the forecast is minus 0.1% on the prior minus 0.1%. We also get the US NAHB housing market index for the month of January, forecast 39, prior 37.
I haven't taken a trade yet, so. And the only trades that are worth taking are trying to short Globex low on ES. Or opening range low on NQ until we see a push above. Because we have trend in that direction.
1 minute remaining.
Just
I'll lead
waiting.
with the US business inventories month over month.
I'd much rather play ES down at 55 in NQ over opening range low, or down at like 73, 74.
Ten seconds. Minus 0.1%, minus 0.1% as
low.
expected. NAHB housing market index at
See what
44,
happens.
44, higher than forecast 39.
RTY back down to its low pivot. RTY by far the most convincing signal today. Yes, unstacked. Printing the literal top and bottoms. ES back to Globex low. I mean, the Russell just came back down to POC, bounced, and then made a new high. Delta pushing at a higher low, with stacked giving a signal. That also called the low on NQ and ES. So to me, that is a great signal. Same with the stacked signal at the top, which marked the reversal and the push down on ES. So, like, yeah, signal. This is NQ into ORL. Need to see a push above 733. I mean, dude, look what happened. Like, what? I mean,
So in 10 minutes time now at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, ECB's President Lagarde is due to be speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos.
see if we can get a bit. I'd like the 18s to now hold, ideally, on NQ. Recovery of this buyer. I have the FEG that was there. We're looking for this to be able to hold the higher low after that push, especially with Delta pushing and RTY and NQ. Need to be careful, of course, of the Globex low and the full RL, but this looks like it has potential to move. See what happens on retest. I'd love to see 31s now hold on NQ. That'd be ideal. I'd love to be able to play this up into 59 on a push over 46s here. Keeping an eye on ESV WAP as we approach. In case that destroys our plans. Look for a bid here. It's not. so strange that hasn't shifted on this. Risking off 1 on the retest of the high. 1 left. 26 average. It's
In 5
potentially
minutes
shifting
time
down
at
here to this
10:15
21,
a.m. Eastern
but
Time,
it's above.
ECB's President Lagarde is speaking at the World Economic Forum in Davos. And so the live video does not seem to be available from the World Economic Forum for Lagarde yet. We're just keeping our eyes
It's up
out on
here,
this.
Tash,
May be released
at,
at the time
8:49.
of the speech beginning.
But it's attempting to shift on one of my monitors to down here. You see? In ETH, or sorry, in RTH here. So I'm playing off of this level. See on the screen? Yeah, yeah. Just bought and then risked off 1 more again here. Again, just playing off this 2150 pivot. I'd like to see a push up to 59s. I have 1 left now, average 27s. Back to the top of the range. You need to see a push over 46s, so this is going to be where you want to be closing, right? The reason why we care about a higher level is we have a node above, right? So all we're trying to do here is build out this high, right? And then fill the structure above. If this pushes below and then can't get back above, right, and we find acceptance here, then we look for a push back down to below. But as long as this is willing to hold and we can rebid above it, then we can play this as our range, looking for a break and then a push up into this 59. Yeah, it's good money. Good stuff.
So shortly expecting comments from ECB's President Lagarde. They have now posted the live feed, and the live video, if you'd like to watch Lagarde live, is attached to her entry in the calendar.
Yeah, there's your shift on now. We're looking for this to now be able to show support of this edge, really. Right. A higher low. Wouldn't really want to see it come any lower. 35, I think. If it does, then it's just most definitely just oscillating back down to the bottom of that range. We're looking for an edge hold. Build imbalance, you need to see a rebid or it goes back down to the lows. Battle over our 35s on NQ. ES back down to Globex low, leading.
So looking now at the fear and greed index, 59 out of 100, still indicating greed though. A crypto fear and greed index, 60 out of 100, which indicates greed as well. Keeping an eye on the VIX as well, it is up on the day, on the session so far, compared to prior close, currently trading at around 15.16.
Very careful here with Russell failing to break. Need to not make a lower high here. Get a bid step in relatively soon. Still holding off of 35s. We're looking for the Russell to find a low into this white box with ES as well, trying to find a low here. If they fail, right, then we don't have a reason for a bounce to occur. We're watching this POC shift, and we're watching this FEG fill right here. Remember, we need these things to find this low up. My opinion, this is your last chance for NQ here. Into the 15s, you wanted to bid and then push back over 33. As RTY and ES try to come down into this low. You need these things to bottom here. You bought 15, you need to risk off into 30 until that becomes supportive again. It's your same resistance as before, where we have to be able to get over this opening range low POC now. So just keep that in mind, that in this trade, you really just want to see Russell be able to continue to make higher lows, and yes, continue to make higher lows or equal lows off of this bottom that we've now identified. With 15s showing is that like the lowest you want to see that go, but now you got to get over that 31. We put it like this, hopefully that we're at the edge. We are now trying to hold VWAP. We have POC above, so we need to see a recovery of that level, or this can start to build and show acceptance below our AVWAP. That means our buyer's offsides, and then we can look for a retest down to the bottom. So I want to see any look below, just like we drew here, to be able to then hold a higher low and then push off. If it can't, then we continue down.
UK 10-year yield plus 18 basis points set for the biggest jump since February 2023.
Next risk off. Just waiting for that Russell to come down into our pivot, getting our stacked buy signals. Yes, coming down into our POC, finding that AVWAP low, playing off of it, pushing back up to resistance. This is your risk off. I have one contract left here. Risked off into top of range. That makes sense, what I was looking for here. What we drew. And with RTY and NQ coming down into the pivot. Sorry, RTY and ES coming down into our pivot. It's like, we need the bid there. Now we watch Delta. This is resistance, right? This is our rebid reversal line. So we rejected that. Need to get over it if you want to see continuation. But it at least gave us a really nice bottoming trade for a push up. Especially when deltas are with us. It's like, okay, sick. We should try this. This is as close as possible to my invalidation. But when all three things are looking like they are going to get relief, then we will get a larger, stronger, faster push up, right? Or a push down, if they're going all in the same direction. We get choppy, slower movements when we have a mixed market. Do I need huge continuation and trend to make money? No. We just need to find the areas where we expect relief. Can someone try talking in YouTube chat just to make sure that this is working? I'm looking at chat via OBS, but I don't know if it's... Oh yeah, it is. Okay. Thank you. I'm not actually on our YouTube. This is what it looks like for me. So we have now traded up to our target at 59s. This is your seller reoffer. You see how we held this and then pushed? These levels don't change, we just need to see the price action to match.
To keep in mind, ECB's President Lagarde is currently speaking at this town hall event at the World Economic Forum. It is titled How to Trust Economics. It does not seem to be talking about monetary policy at the moment.
So this is just salary offer. Let me zoom out a bit more so you can see why we care. Let this update. We see how this is a node here, and this is the edge of our node. So what do we need to do to make this supportive? Well, we need to recover it, right? Show that we want to then push. So if we can then get into this 59 and make it supportive, then we can oscillate back up. Then we're looking for 68 to 77 to become supportive. Until then, it's resistance. We filled the LVN, right? This is why it was our target.
So we did hear rumors of it yesterday, but confirmation now as the US has designated Houthis as a terrorist group amid a rise in Red Sea attacks.
Your node. Here's your node. Right? So you ideally want this 45 to know, like this 43, 45 area supportive. If we have that same logic, right? We want the edge of our node to now hold. I like the 3 bar in the 15-minute. Yeah, right? You've got potential. Just have to be careful with this wicking, right? But we have a base to build off of, which is all we care about. Because it's either we hold this edge or we are going to rotate back down to the POC. It's a volume profile, right? So play the node. I don't know, man. I just need a bounce.
And so further reductions due
Hey,
to the
look.
weather in North Dakota. So North Dakota's oil production down about 650 to 700,000 barrels per day. Their gas outputs off 1.7 to 1.9 billion
I mean,
cubic
we're
feet today.
holding
Again,
VWAP
since
on
the
15,
freezing
so
weather, according to the State Pipeline Authority, this is a
it's a
larger
downtrend.
downgrade than was seen yesterday due to cold weather as well.
But like, what are you gonna do with that information? Are you shorting? Like, we just need to hold the high of this FEG at 21.3, right? I'm looking for this to now become supportive, like this 14.1. If it gets below that and that becomes resistance, then sure, you could play continuation down. But like, we held Globex low on RTY, so I don't really know how to play off of that information other than trying to go for like a short continuation here. But to me, like, it looks like, if anything, RTY comes down into this, and then we look for another bounce, if anything. Like, guys, like, the trend is down, right? But we need to find a person to play with and then scalp against it. Like, I'm not in it for the long term. Not a 15-second chart. But, like, we are making higher lows, right? And we are now holding this node as supportive. Yeah? So what bias do I have if I'm not in at this supply above us? I need to then be playing off of this guy here. And until this becomes resistance, there's really no bear trade for me unless I got in at this edge. Because now it just looks like a pullback. That makes sense. Like, I need to see either relief off of this or this to then show as resistance for a push down to Globex low. So I'm just going to play off of any sort of like delta divergence that I see. The top was called on stacked, and then it also showed the weakness on delta, right? So now we're just waiting for this to find a low. If it can find a low with VWAP as supportive, that's ideal. And then we just watch delta to see if it can make a higher low and push off of that area. So I'm only interested to see if buyers step in here because this is an area where I see value. Buy side. I don't think you're wrong. I think it's just a different trade time frame. Like, again, I think if you took a short here, this was a great trade at 29s. I just think we're now too far from that area for me to now care. I now want to see a buyer step in here. If they fail to step in, then I think there's definitely a short. right? Like when we'll be looking for VWAP to become resistance, and then I push down below this POC and a reoffer. But like until then, it's hard for me to say I want to short here, especially because I'm not trading the Russell itself. If I was, like, sure, maybe. It's the same thing with like either you take profit into 59s or you're attempting to short 50. Are you long or are you short? So like this 59 made a lot of sense in context of Russell already leading down and making a lower high. So we're getting that continuation already with NQ into our pivot and ES into our pivot. So like that's where your short is. But like now, I don't know. I'm long, you know? I was long. So it's like, do I reverse my position instantly or just close for profit and then watch to see what happens next? That's what makes it hard, is like, I don't, it depends where you got in. It's all subjective. Right now we stream for free Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then the premium members get a stream on the days off in a private YouTube on Tuesday, Thursday. So we stream every day of the week. But right now, if you aren't a member, get 3 streams instead of 5. So for like me, like contextually, I'd rather just be able to call the edges here and then just play this over and over again. You know what I mean? Like what? This doesn't hurt my brain, right, Ty? Like this is just, oh, okay. We're coming back down to where buyers are. Oh, we're at where sellers are. Okay, that's your trade. Like it's actually brain dead. We've identified 2 zones. We're now playing off of those zones, and we know that the Russell needs to come down into VWAP supportive. Yeah, dude, you do. Every time I log off and then Mario gets on with you guys start doing like the most complex things I've ever seen. I'm just here like buying a level because it looks good. You know? I don't know what to say. Chat changes to like a very different thing in the afternoon. Just like, keep it simple. Do we have buying participation? Like, has Delta shifted? Are we at value on multiple instruments? Okay, let's try. You know? Like, I don't know what to say. You don't need any of this other nonsense. If it helps you identify it, sure, but if it's noise that's interfering with your logic, right? Like if you don't have like a full grasp of what you're doing with it, it can be detrimental instead of helpful, additive, you know? I was having the same conversation with someone yesterday about like level 2 data in tape. It's like if you don't know what you're doing, then it's just noise and it's getting in the way of your narrative. But like if you're an order flow trader, it's incredibly important. But like, guess what? Like, guess what I don't have on this account that I'm trading on right now? Level 2 data. And I'm gonna switch off and go to a level 2 account in a second, but like, you don't need it. Like, it's useful if you're using it. Yeah, I'm not. I've got 3 accounts on Tradeovate. You think I'm buying like data for all of them? No. But if we're using the same logic and the same narrative, right? Like there's you don't need it. Like, has structure shifted? Are we still playing around the same things that matter? Are we seeing RTY come into that low again and stack to give us signal into VWAP in the area that we're interested in? Yes. Is NQ back into the area where we care about at our developing POC? Yes. Is ES into our rebid reversal line? Yes. Okay, well, why are we not trying to take a trade then? You feel me? Yeah, sometimes you just gotta try, right? Like that's, again, like levels are easy, guys. It's the execution that is hard. It's being willing to cut a loser. It's being willing to try a runner, understanding your probabilities, right? Understanding where you are wrong, and then attempting where you think you have the best opportunity. Execution is hard. Levels are easy. We have them on the chart via the profile, right? So now it's about creating a narrative and then following through and then closing garbage trades and reevaluating and being willing to reverse your position or get into a trade in an area that has solid risk to reward. And it's all execution. The profile does our major levels for us. We mark these areas because these then become part of our narrative of how we're going to play around it, right? Around the area. But like as soon as you're able to grasp structure and how we move in a profile on a recovery of a low or a high of a node, or how we traverse through structure, right? Like you then have a I hate, I'm gonna use a narrative. Like I don't know what else to say, but we have like a story in which we are now watching to see if it follows through. Like, oh, okay, price bounced at the low edge. We then were able to hold a higher low and then recover the mid. I now am looking for a rotation up to the high. If we rotate up to the high, I'm now looking for price to be able to now bid off of where our previous sell was. Like this is like my thought process as we're going through it. It's like, has value shifted? I'm constantly asking myself that. It's like, where was previous value found? Well, we know that our sellers were were unloading here, right? We see that this was our seller reoffer, and it's the top of our structure. What we're looking for from buyers is we had 2 nodes develop. We had a node that developed here, and we had a node that was here. We are looking for price to be able to fill this LVN and create a singular node. Once we're able to do that, we're then able to then hold this edge high and build where our previous seller was, right? We're now looking for buyers to be here. And if we can then bid off of this area and push off, we then are able to then push up to previous seller value, which is here. So I'm looking for a structure repair between 2 nodes, this being our target, this being our buyer value, seller value, and then if this gets filled, this shifts and then buyer value starts to step in here. If that happens, we then play off of this as the high edge, and then we look for it to become supportive for a push up to previous value. That's my brain. That's how we play around it. So like if things are following that path and we're seeing what we want to see, there's no reason to exit, or there's no reason to not try. As soon as things start to shift from that, then it's like, oh, okay, we gotta reevaluate. Like if we lose this edge and then it becomes resistance and we can't get back above and our offer now flips here, we then gotta look for a pushback down, right? But what we're watching for is what happens where this previous seller was. Right? And can we now hold where this previous seller was? If we can, that's a good sign that buyers are willing to continue to try up at the highs because they see a potential for a push higher. Why else would they buy here? So if they're willing to defend this without having to seek back down to a previous area of value, I want to then watch this area and look for a bounce off of here and then a hold of this high to play for a continuation up. What's up, Gav? Morning.
So seeing a bearish $5 million options play that's targeting the US 10-year yield at around 4.5%. So again, this is flow in treasury options that sees heavy demand emerging over the US morning session for a bearish play targeting a 10-year yield rise to approximately 4.5%, which is ahead of its February 23rd expiry.
So what did we just do? We just bounced opening range low and went to opening range mid. That's your risk off. Anything else is extra. Unflatten to opening range mid. Wait for that to hold and get overview up, and then we can play up to 805, 810. But we got the play that we were looking for. Great job, Vark. I think there's an argument to potentially play off this 59. Just keep in mind that we need to see the Russell be able to get over 21. I think. Need to see a higher low develop here. This is definitely a pivot. Like if this doesn't hold into this low, that there's potential for us to then look for a pushback down. We need to see this show as supportive on all attempts, right? Or we can fill the structure back down. Here. So just keep that in mind that we're just trying to build a node at the top of this range. So if you're no longer in a position and you are looking for a position, right, you can try to play off of this edge and then look for a bid and then a continuation play. But just keep in mind that if we lose this and then the offer sticks here, we will rotate to fill this imbalance. So it's just a node, right? You can get caught in a chop as price tries to flag and build or push out. My suggestion always is, and like how I attempt these areas, is I'm always going to, if I'm attempting a low of a range, I'm always going to sell into where our previous seller was, at least one contract. Make the trade as break even as possible, right? Take some off the table, because I don't know if we're going to be able to push through. All I know is that there is a seller there in the short term that's identified themselves and is playing off of that area. So until I see a bid above it, I need to show that as acceptance. Like, I need to just accept that there's a seller there. And so we trade the range until we break the range, basically. Are you guys like following? Is this okay? Or do I need to back off, reevaluate? I just like in general, like, is communication okay today? Are you able to follow? Are you making money? Are you learning if you're not making money? Do you see it playing? Are you finding it useful? Those are the things I care about. Why? Nothing's changed in what I say, man. Why are you reevaluating? Hmm. I'm trying to focus on 15-minute stuff, and I have no idea how to. That's that's the issue. Is like, how do I put that into practice? A lower time frame. I get sucked in the 30-second, but I don't know how to use 15. Well, like your 15 should be your levels, right? Like your larger pivots, or your 30-minute, and then your 15-second, 30-second, 1 minute, 3 minute, I don't care what smaller time frame chart you're using, should give you nuance. Right? Like you're using that in place of watching like a footprint chart or like order flow, right? You're watching how buyers and sellers are reacting on a shorter time frame in between your pivots. Is there a shift in like the smaller time frame trend. You shouldn't be caring about like what the candle to candle, what happens on a 15-second chart. That doesn't matter. But like, is there a level that we are clearly trading around on the smaller time frames, and is there a level that we can find any sort of context to make a trade on like a rebid or a reversal? Like that's the only thing that I'm watching. And then it's like, oh, do we have any delta shifts on a smaller time frame? Because like we know on the, like, as long as we have the higher time frame levels marked, we know like where we're ultimately rotating towards. But it's how do we get there and when do we get there, right? That's what the smaller time frame should be being used for. Is it now or is it in the next, hour? Because if it's not now, then I'm not looking to execute. You should use the 15 or the 30 minute the same way you use a profile, right? Because all that's telling you, like, what are the higher time frame candles showing you? They're showing you where buyers were historically in a larger amount of space, right, than on the smaller time frame. So like, what are you going to be able to grasp from that you can play off of on a smaller time frame? Is like, that's it, like the level, the high, the low, where volume was traded within that period of time. But like, other than that, like, what do you do with that information? So the only thing you can do with it is like mark those as zones and then watch how people participate on a smaller time frame. I don't know. Like, it can shift your bias of like who's in control. I do that a lot, where it's like, oh, okay, well, on the higher time frame, we're still in a selling channel. So until I see acceptance over this higher time frame pivot, I need to not leave as many runners, because I know that we're going to continue to sell off into that area until we breach above. We're just in balance, right? So like, I'll use it for that kind of stuff a lot, because it's letting me know when I should be leaving runners and when I should be running when we get into an area. Not all trades are the same, where we can leave excess on the table, right? Because we'll get too much unrealized drawdown trying to do something like that. Like, if we're clearly trading between value low and value high and we're not breaching it on the day, why am I leaving a runner if we haven't shown any signs of acceptance across any of our instruments that we want to breach out of balance? Just sell, right? And like, you can see that kind of stuff a lot more clearly, I think, on the higher time frames. Yeah, I think it's a super important skill, and I think for a lot of people, just taking initial profits and then running and just having a good trade is where you should probably be. And then once you've garnered like greater context of where we are and you can answer those questions in real time of like, does it make sense for me to hold a runner? Do I think price is going to come back down or come up to the level that I'm in at my average, right? Because if not, if I don't think price is ever going to come back down short term to where I'm in, then it doesn't make sense to close. But if we're oscillating and we're in a range, then I should take profit, because we will come back down to that same level and all I'm doing is leaving money on it. But like, that takes time to get that kind of context and be able to do it in real time and make like split-second decisions. So like, for a lot of people, again, it's going to make a lot more sense to just risk off into a known level and then wait for a better trade. And you're gonna miss rotations, and that's okay. But you're not gonna get caught on the wrong side or give back, 90% of a position looking for excess. I don't know if I aggregate the smaller time frame. I think that I'm using smaller time frame for execution, but I'm aggregating higher time frame for key levels. I feel like it's the opposite. Just like with if you're watching a DOM or if you're watching like pure order flow, right? Like the smaller time frame is going to tell you and show you where the shifts occur and when a buyer steps in or when a seller steps in. So I don't know. Like think about like someone who is on a 15-minute chart waiting for a confirmation compared to someone who's on a 1-minute chart, right? Like you're going to get in at a very different level. Yeah, I mean the DOM is real time, right? I mean it's not a 1 second or anything. It's real time. So if you can read the DOM, you're order flow trader, right? That mixed with tape and delta, like you welcome, you're an order flow trader. But like you have to know what you're looking for, or it's just because like if you're not watching for those shifts and you can't find them efficiently in real time, right? The shifts in buying and selling pressure and participation and the rebids and the reversals on the DOM, then you're basically just using it as like a market price ladder, which is not a DOM. Russell Delta again just confirms a low for another solid scalp up. Just VWAP here. Sorry, I'm talking a lot, but I think this was all good. Good questions. This is just opening range mid on ES where we took profit previously. Sorry, on NQ where we took profit previously. What we're looking for now, guys, is acceptance above VWAPs. We have built acceptance above RTY VWAP. We need to see the same thing now on ES and NQ, right? We have Globex low and VWAP above us on NQ. That is our next target. If you are in a trade, is up into this 800 to 810 for the FEG fill, the Globex low, and VWAP tap. A lot of important levels here. This area. So until I see a push above this, I'm basically just calling this where I expect our seller to be. Especially with the Russell continuing to just rotate around this pivot here. So until we see acceptance over, right, we need to see this build out and then push off. ES is just bouncing Globex low and POC down at 64, 65. And we have a imbalance fill up this 74, 75 area. So there's really not much up here until we see a look above and hold. The deltas look fine. We're making higher lows on price. Have someone attempting. We're just pushing into distance. Ooh, something that you guys might be excited about. Stacked. You see all these arrows on my chart? On the signal? For each of these? Check this out. External signals. You can now plug in 2 external charts and color code them to have stacked buy sell signals, the bear bull signals for reversals on a chart. So you could have like Apple if you're trading NQ or Russell NQ on ES, something like that. So now you'll have all 3 stacked signals appear where the default chart signals will be white or really reverse of whatever your background chart color is. But then you can program 2 outside or external signals in stacked now That's what we're working on. So you can have triple confirmation
So
without
just
having to
noting
need
the
multiple
S&P
monitors.
500's pairing some of its losses. It's currently down around 0.5% on the up now. The dollar's seeing a bit of weakness as well. It's still up 0.2% on the session per the Dixie.
Still in development, but
That's the VIX trading down
it
at
should be really nice for
14.76
those
now,
on mobile.
from highs of 15.37 earlier.
Where like if you base your trades off of like Russell signal coming in, but you're trading ES itself, you can now see when the Russell gets the stacked signal reversal on your ES chart. So like if you only have one monitor, it should be very helpful for stuff like that. Or if you like want to build out your own system where you're like, wow, the Tesla signals or the Microsoft signals have been really solid, and it looks like those have been calling the reversals on the day. You can now change that symbol and say, I would love to see what the Microsoft signals look like compared to ES. And then we change this to, let's say, yellow, just for this right now. It's like, when did Microsoft get a low signal? And when did it call the high? So like the Microsoft yellow signal called the top, right? And it's like, okay, well, these have been calling when that pivot occurs for ES to kind of show weakness. So I should care because it has a heavy weighting, right? We can now see an individual stock showing weakness on our ES chart as a pivot. Kind of cool. So I'm sure like you guys will develop your own symbols or things that like play really well, but you can start to really like define your triggers for taking trades. You like that or no? How are you feeling? I thought it was a good idea. We made this last night at our meeting, so I have not had enough time to play with it. But it is a concept that is in the works right now. But it'll be nice for those that are like have limited screens, right? Limited screen space. To give a bit more context. I was thinking specifically for people who generally trade one specific future, but watch like Apple, Microsoft, or Tesla, or like the Russell. Like I think the Russell signals on Stacked are usually really solid to call kind of like tops and bottoms. But like with mobile, or if you only have one screen, right, like you have very limited screen space. So like you could be on SPY, for example, and then have Apple and Tesla or something like that, or whatever's moving on the day, and then you could just be trading SPY, but have like your Apple pivots and Tesla pivots marked. And then like seeing if there's any sort of like reaction off of those. So it can be really good to figure out what symbol is kind of showing the most exhaustion, or like what's causing like our pivots to occur, right? Like we could go and do a really fast back test where say like, oh, also this is fully played out now, that flag developing and then pushing off. We are now at the node. This is now fully played. But like, we could now say like, oh, let's go to SPY. Bring that over. So white will always be just like stacked signals for the individual name. But then you have Apple and Microsoft now showing when like that selling is coming into a close. So you have like three symbols now in an area into the low. Like, okay, well, I want to start paying attention now. We're starting to see that reversal setting up. And then we also got our stacked signal at the high by itself. Profit. So like with a bit more, we can change like the time frame and see if we're seeing anything specifically that's working really well. But they could gain a bit more context of when we should be risking off or putting risk on a trade. Just an idea. But it had potential. It might be like QQQ might be the better fit with Apple, Microsoft, but still. So we're at our pivot that we were just talking about, right? This is our pivot 800 to 810 on NQ. This 74, 75 area on ES. Just need to see a push above. We're at the top. We need to get back into these. Back and over, right? We have a seller that has positioned themselves here before a larger move down. We now need to find acceptance back in this area. We have recovered the edge low at 806, but if we just put a profile on this, we can see that technically need to be able to breach this area, or this is just where our seller will defend first, right? This is the edge of our node. So there's really not too much here yet until we start to see this build out. To me personally, the risk to reward, if you were trying to get into a starter position here, it just doesn't feel very great with this LVN below us, right? We know that this is a higher time frame seller that's above, and that we need to push and find acceptance back into for continuation. But we know that we don't have structure below, and so to me, a pullback feels a lot more likely rather than a breakout, seeing as we've already taken profit from the low and played it up. Now we just kind of have to either look for a short or wait for a pullback into an area that we care about. But watch as we come down into the 70 on ES, that's our VWAP. Looking at ADR on RTY, see if we can get a bottom. Want to see it on Delta as well before we try to initiate. Appreciate the feedback, Nikki. Yeah, like, that's kind of the goal, right? It's just we started with the indicators to try to help condense everything that we're teaching and make it so that you could use it on the cheaper subscriptions. But we've kind of slowly crept away from that. And I'd like to be able to come back down to fill that need again, like where you don't need the premium version to be able to use our indicators effectively. Boss, you never sent me those clips that you said that you found yesterday that you liked. Just whenever you get a chance, man, if it's not too much trouble. This is ESV bounce at our 70s. Need to see the Russell again get back over this like 21, 20, or at least show that like on Delta as well that you care. Right now we just have lower highs and lower lows, right? Selling channel. Need to see a breach of that. But this ESV WAP is working so far. Like to see a push over that 805, 810 on NQ for me to have any confidence, and then a bid off of it. We really do need to get into YouTube Shorts. We're trying. Right now we're just doing like memes, but I'd like to do like short form education content as well. I mean, that's good enough. We can, that's more information than I have currently, Sauce, so you just like DM that to me or whatever you either recorded or timestamped, and then I can go find them. Watch for this area as potential supply. Just top of the range, previous range, right? So we need to see acceptance over this 26 to 31. Or you should be expecting this to kind of be where our pivot is on NQ. If we can push above that, then we can target 50s. Till then, right, this is where we are expecting our seller to be located. I'll just keep an eye on that. Russell looks fine. Need to see how we react into 23.5 though. Can we push through the seller? That is the question. Or does this become our pivot?
Welcome home, Columbia. Beautiful, beautiful. Discovery 4 computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions. Liftoff of mission 41B, the first flight of the orbiter Discovery, and the shuttle has cleared the tower. Discovery Houston, trim to ATO. I have to be in orbit. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you, sir. Again, this 26 to 31, like 32, really. Just keep in mind, like this short-term, like supply, right? Things are still looking fine, but if we start to see like the Russell fail to break, and we start to see things curl, just know that we could be coming back down to like the 12 area, 12 to 15 on NQ. This is for sure Horatio, right? I really don't want to see Russell fall much lower than this. I'd like to maintain basically an equal low here. See if we can hold a higher low on delta as we push into this. You really don't want to see this push any lower, or it does not look. Like if we don't maintain the equal low, then we look for VWAP. Simple. Pushing down into our 12s on NQ. This is where you'd want to see a buyer step in. 12-15. If it fails, didn't fail. But we need to get a push over 19s now. Dollar positioned at 19. Risking off one here from our 12 to 15. Saw a little dip, scalp, risked off one more, one left. Took two off, break even on last, 16 average. Need to see us push over 26.
Majority leader Schumer says we can pass the
that'll be
stopgap
it.
by tomorrow if all work in good faith.
Watching Russell for context to see if we get continuation. We're at our pivot, at our rebid reversal line on RTY, as well as our 15-minute halfway back. I want to see Delta be able to make a higher low here. Why was I interested into that 12 to 15 area on NQ? What does that represent? What's this? Yeah. And then we pair that with the Russell coming into an area that I care about and then recovering, plus Delta pushing. And then he gets destroyed. And then we get buy side liquidity into an imbalance and we push off. Now we make money. Jeez. So runner is doing well. And we are up to our 3450. It's a great first risk off if you didn't already into 23s. And again, just following our logic, right? We need to see a push above this. This is where our rebid reversal was at that 12. We filled that LVN that was here on the smaller time frame. And we are now trying to hold this edge as supportive at this 31 to 25 area, 26 area, just as we have drawn. Look for buyers to try to defend this high edge now. If they fail, we rotate back, right? That's simple. Again, we've already found this as resistance. But does that mean we can't make money? No. Arc. What's in Arc K? What are their main holdings right now? I haven't looked at a Kathy. Why is it dying? It's Tesla? Arc. Their largest holding is Coinbase and Tesla and then Zoom. Oh no. That's why it's going down. I did know, but I've never found it all that useful. Other than to be like, you should just Google this yourself and then doing the command. You know what I mean? I think if you had one monitor, it would be super useful. I really like this site. Kathy's Arc. I don't think I've ever used that command. Just Kamikaze. Dude, that's huge that it came up with your first. I will be right back. grabbing water. If you want higher prices, right, like we want this to bid here, this like 23, 26 area, NQ, and hold our rebid reversal levels. Keep an eye on this. I'd like for this node to, if I zoom out, I really want this node to start to show its acceptance at some point soon. Like if this ever goes offer, then we're just gonna come back down to this area. I really want to see this hold. If we can see that hold and then like bid over 31s, 32s. So if we get like this 23 hold and then it bids over 32, I think that we can see 50. Yeah, you just have to turn them on. They're clean, right? Pretty clean. They're they're usually off by default. They only turn on if we break the orange cloud, but you can just have them always on. You can see where that level is. So a lot of the time, if you don't have it on always on, it will be, unless you're like staring at your charts, it's sometimes hard to see when they develop, I think. It's just like change the look back length. Or sorry, the display length, it's not a look back. And then keep it on always on. Because without it, it'll only ever show them when we breach above or below our trend cloud. I personally think Stacked and Patty are like becoming to a point where they're just so good. With some of the changes that we're making in the next couple weeks, it's just gonna get better. And look, you got a bottom oscillator now that gives you confirmation. I want to, it's basically like an arm and then a fire of a signal, right? So like we get these price action based signals off Stacked that tell us when potential reversals are occurring, but they don't tell you if it's an area that's worth playing, right? It doesn't give you like where we are in a distribution. Like, are we in the middle? Are we at a tail? Because I only want to be taking these if we're at like a tail of a distribution, because then we have an idea of how much risk to reward we have by entering in one of those, right? Like, I want to be in an overbought or oversold area, but I don't want it to just be price action based. I want it to be like market based. So we want to have it include like delta, but also tick, to kind of give us an idea of where we are market strength wise from being overbought or oversold. So that's the current thing that we're working on, and like that should all work together with Stacked signals to let you know, especially with this new upgrade that we just did with the 3 on one chart. It's like, oh, okay, well, we got our RTY signal, a NQ, and an ES signal all in one spot, and tick is in the negative 1000, and delta is showing a higher low. Like, oh, okay, we should probably pull the trigger, you know? And that should like show in one overlay. You shouldn't need to have 25 indicators on to get that. We should have a singular oscillator that does the same idea. So that's the next thing that's in the works. And like that's what I mean by like the arming and then the firing. It's like we're finding signals into those overbought and oversold. That's like, oh, okay, we're arming, we're getting ready. And then it's like the fire is when those signals trigger and we're also in that area and things are setting up. That's your actual fire. It should help let you know solid RR. Oh. What's your pup's name? You're pretty cozy. Lunatudo. Oh. Luna's a good. That's because of your love of moon cycles, right? No. We filled that liquidity gap, so you have to be careful here. I think we look for 806, if anything. Just watch Globex low to view up. It's 806, 810. as the Russell needs to come in and find a low, right? And we're not seeing that on Delta with the sell. So there's no reason to pull a trigger. But we should be keeping an eye on this ETH low to VWAP on NQ. Definitely. That's fine. I'm not shorting either. I mean, the short makes sense, right? But I'm just talking. I'm chilling. It's 11:51. I am done trading. Well, maybe we'll get like one more trade, but I am traded out. Waiting for the Russell to find a low, guys. But we have an area on NQ that we're interested in, and now we just wait to see if Russell can find a low as in this area with us. Great job. Did you risk off at all into 806, or are you just going for continuation for the gap fill? Or sorry, for the imbalance fill down to 788? Out? Nice. Let's see if we can build here. We want the Russell to reject if you're short at this 21.2, right? But if you are looking for a long, we're looking for this 06 to 10 area to hold, and then a bid back over 1075 for continuation. And we just keep an eye on our deltas for a higher low. A great first risk off. Great job. You should be able to play this back up to like 19 as your first risk off if you took the 806 or 10s. As long as we continue to maintain higher lows. See if we get the 1075 bid. No, it's just a waiting game. You've got your seller parked at that 11, basically, that 1075. We have a buyer who's attempting at 806. So we just need to see if sellers push below that 806 and then hold it on offer, or if we can push over that 1075 and then bid above, right? Very tight range. Just keeping an eye on the Russell to see if we also are able to maintain a higher low. Huge. 806 held. Solid bid. Push off. I am looking for that 19, but I'm going to risk off one here. Two left. Stopped one there. One left. Do we know why we tried there, or why I tried there? Do we see that the flag that we looked at previously? Where's the POC to value high? And what is this? So we've got Globex low. We've got our POC to value high of our previous range from our previous buyer, right? And then we also have VWAP here. So for me, this area is without, like, unless some like craziness happens, it should at least result in chop, right? Stagnation. We understand that this is value, at least on a shorter term. And so in a sell-off, we should at least see a bit of relief, and it should result in at least a couple points, right? So even if we're wrong, that's 19s, by the way. Even if we're wrong, right? Like, we need to find an area where value will at least be implied on the short term, so that we get at least a relief on the shorts, right? Shorts should provide enough ammo for us to make money. Ideally, we get a larger move, right? And buyers step in and then push price up with the shorts covering. But like, we want to find an area which will result in either an immediate move out, or if that immediate move doesn't happen, at least it results in chop. And that allows us to get out of that trade without having to take a ton of drawdown. So we can find an area like that that is, you know, value. We look to see how people participate here, and that should give us at least an opportunity to play off of the higher low, and then play up into this resistance until we get a break, and then look for our target at 19. But like, I want to find an area where I'm going to have the least potential drawdown, but also know if I'm wrong very quickly. Like, if we didn't hold here and we didn't get this chop and we didn't find the higher low, I want to be aware of that, and I want to know I'm wrong almost immediately. So like, if we lost Globex low and we started to oscillate below, I know that we're going to go down to value low of the previous range. Right? We're going to come down to this, at least. So this gives me a very small area to now try to bid off of and look for it to hold, and then we play it back up to our previous node, which is at 19 to 24. So now we have a 4-point range on NQ that we can play off of. and then play up. And now we have a huge positive RR. And we can immediately reverse this position if we ever see this flip back offer and then play it back down. Like, these are the areas that I have high interest in. And I'm glad, like, Ty asked, is the 12 still valued? It's like, okay, well, no, we lost that liquidity there. And so now we're going to go further down to where previous value was. Well, what did that represent? What was the 12s? What was this? This was a fill of this imbalance, right? So this liquidity was already been tested, right? So now we need a look below to where previous value built, right, on this node, and then we seek back up into it. You see how that 19 is the high of that imbalance? That's our target. So all I gave you is, because we saw that shift, I gave you 806 as where value should be found, and then 819 as the FEG fill high of where that imbalance was previously found, right? So we're just playing off the previous liquidity area from that 12 to 19, but entering in at like the 6s to give a target. I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Yeah, I'm hopping off relatively soon. That was probably my last trade. I just want to see if we're going to hold Globex low, or if NQ needs to come down to fill this FEG. Do we have any questions before I go? Anyone need anything? Context? You guys good? Yeah, well, we need to see it's still a long, technically, but if we see a push below and then acceptance, then this should result in a push down. As of right now, we're just kind of chopping, but this should result in something like this, where we get a pushback down to this buyer down at 65s if we fail to hold Globex low. Right now, we still have the Russell just double bottomed. Things to keep in mind is the lower high end delta. Lower low, sorry. The reason why I think it's hard to try to short here is that you have POC and Globex low below on ES. So as we come into this has been a level of interest where we've bounced quite a bit. So like this should occur, this test should occur as NQ comes into this liquidity here on the 15-minute. What time frame FEG do you speak of? I'm just looking at an imbalance, bro. It's an untested area. It already was filled. What do you mean? You see a push and spread, then a retest, and then a bop off of it? This. This is what we played off of the 12s. And then this then became what? Resistance. And now it's like, okay, well, we've lost this POC, so now we have a seller node above, right? We have a seller POC above. And we have a buyer POC down here where our AVWAP is at 68, 65 area. So to me, it's like, what makes more sense if we lose Globex low? Well, first we come down to this value low and test to see what happens. But like if we lose this buyer and this buyer's now offsides, you expect kind of like a slow rotation down into this. I don't know how, like, when it happens, right? But we're losing previous buyers on the shorter time frames. And now we're making lower highs. So we need to recover this area and then build above or a push up. Or we're going to start the process of channeling down. Right? And that would result into this area as your target, even for the channeling down. So it's just kind of an awkward position to be in with where we are. Well, let's see what happens here as ES comes down into Globex low and into POC. We watch to see if the Russell can double bottom again. Or really at this point, like triple. Does ADR hold, or do we need to get the move down into VWAP or ORH? And if that's not enough, your next textural place will be to look for this as your pivot. But like the Russell, this has been marking our bounce point over and over again so far. Just need to see if that continues to hold true. Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Just look for the rebid now. But like for those kind of areas where you're looking for immediate reaction, right? Like you can just have a limit. But I mean, personally, I don't think that you need to play moves like this that happen drastically. Like we don't have context yet to make that make sense. So like, yeah, we pushed up, but does that mean that you should trade it? In my opinion, probably not. Like, I still want to see a higher low form here, and then for a continuation to happen, like, we still need to hold these areas, or it's just not going to really result in much. Like, you should expect passive buying there, because it's been holding as passive buying, but, like, we still need follow-through, and that follow-through is what you can actually trade. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Like, again, we took the same trade 35 times on NQ off playing Globex low. So like doing the same thing on NQ is no big deal. Like you should definitely attempt with the Russell coming down into it as well, holding a higher low on Delta, which is why we have it drawn. But just like keep in mind, like you shouldn't feel bad for not executing there. You are now just watching for a higher low to develop and for continuation. That's your entry, which was given, right? Like it did bid and then hold. Right, like this is what you're looking at. Do you see what I mean by us bouncing at value low? Like this is nothing changed from what we just drew. But like this, if you're not in and seeking for a buy here off of this level, well, it's the recovery of your ETH low where you should now be trying. Do you see that, Ty? Our initial buy was this area, this 806, right? What happens if we lose POC? Well, we rotate back down to value low, right? So we need to see a push below that 97.50 for continuation down, or it's just a rotation, which is why I was like, it's iffy to try to short. Because like all we're doing is trading in a range, right? And now we're right back up to resistance. This is that 19 where we took profit already. You need to see this build like we have drawn here for continuation up. Hopefully this is clear. I want to make sure. Let me... So we're just rotating this previous buyer. This is value low. We bounce off of losing POC to value high. You now want to see this hold. Yeah, no, not for you. We already walked through it for you, but for everyone else, like I want people to understand context. Like with the fixed range, it's super important. Like we need to lose this buyer, and for them to no longer be interested for price to push down. And if it does, this is where we target. You should stay till 4? I don't think so. I agree. If I stay until 4, then I'm taking tomorrow off. No way. You guys want too much, man. That's the compromise. I stay till 4 today, I take tomorrow off. All right, it's just chop right now, guys. You're just waiting to see which way we go. Right, we've got a range. Just be careful. There's really not much else to say. We're just waiting for acceptance above or below. Yeah. Here, I'll give you this chart for context of like the areas where I want to see rebids. That's all that these areas mean. Like I want to see price be able to hold here for higher. I want to see price be able to hold here for lower. Right? It doesn't need to follow paths exactly. We have our pivots in place. As long as we're holding pivots, we look for the same path to occur for continuation. But just understand where we're trading. This is previous value. If we lose this, we go to 97s. If we lose 97s, we look for continuation down to fill this structural gap. Alright, I'm out. Aram's got it. Goodbye. Leave stream on. Goodbye. You guys are ridiculous.